So do you think we're going to borrow ourselves out of this crisis?
So, I mean, we've got a shortfall of about 4%. I think it's going to end up at about 6%, and I'm pretty certain we're going to try and borrow our way out of this. To bring it down to kind of understandable household kind of think. We're basically in our household, we've only got one job, so we've only got one source of income. What's happening is we've maxed out our bond, we've maxed out our credit cards. We can't get any more credit cards. We've maxed out our overdraft capacity, and we are borrowing money from the loan shark down the road to put food on the table. That's kind of the environment that we're finding ourselves in as a country. And it's a very scary place to be because, after the election, whatever that outcome is, that new government is going to have to deal with, a huge debt to GDP ratio. And quite frankly, unfortunately, a shrinking GDP. We just are not getting the economic growth. So, I think what's going to happen is we're probably going to borrow more money instead of taking tough decisions and cutting. That's the first thing. The second thing is where we do cut, we're going to end up cutting. I promise you where we're going to end up cutting is on infrastructure spend. Now, we already know that we don't have enough energy. That infrastructure has not been looked after for however long. We know we don't have enough water if we have the next drought because we're not spending our money on our dams and upgrading our piping systems or our canals. So water is going to be under threat with climate change, but we're going to cut back on infrastructure spend. Our rail systems are not working. Transnet's failure is costing the country R1 billion a day. Our ports are not able to deal with for us in the Western Cape. We've got 20% increase in agricultural production coming this season, and our port last season couldn't cope with export and demand. Now, I would be saying we need to consolidate and understand on the one side, how do we cut? But on the other side, what are the key things we should be doing to, as quickly as we can, get more money into the system? So the energy fix is a long-term program, a long-term plan. Private sector is doing quite a lot themselves. How do we enable that a bit more? Should we be giving a little bit more of an incentive to put more power into the system? I think so. But at the same time, sort the visa problem out. That's not a big thing to fix from an administrative point of view, but straight away you will have investment, you'll have professionals coming here, you'll enable people who generate jobs into the system. Quite frankly, we've been announcing it for 3 years on remote working visas and in State of the Nation addresses and Zipper. Fix those kind of things. There are simple, quick and easy, open up trade systems. Be quite clear to the West and the East what our positions are. Don't flip-flop. Take our existing trade. How do we open that up? Let's do whatever we can. Treat it as an emergency. Get the ports operational as quickly as possible so we can export product and have income of dollars and yen and whatever else we're going to get from our exports. That makes sense. What other quick fix economic decisions can we be making? Where can we cut? I think that we need to make some regulatory change around our procurement rules. We spend as a country hundreds and hundreds of billions of rands, but we have so many hoops. So procurement is expensive. And again, to make it understandable for citizens, if the government buys a tin of coffee and you as a private individual go down the road and buy a tin of coffee, we are generally paying 30% more and sometimes even more than that. I mean, Andre de Ruyter was showing some of the costs through corruption. Something that was going to cost you 50 rand at a hardware store costs you 1,000 rand because or 10,000 rand because we're procuring it. We need to definitely sharpen up. We can save lots of money, and that money can be used again for service delivery. I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of other areas that we could talk about, but those are the things we should be focusing energy on this side, and of course cutting our cloth on the other side. And between those two, we should be able to ease our way out of this situation.
A link to the full interview is in the description. It's available now on Spotify. You can look for our podcast. It's called Reset the Frame.